Hi, this is the 5-Minute Gardener. My name's Ron. This is my wife Kathy. She's adding some a low nitrogen fertilizer to this potting soil. There it is. Because we're gonna sow some seeds. We're going to show you the way we sow seeds. We're gonna put some lettuce in, some kale, some bunching onions, maybe some beets, all in a seed tray, and then we'll germinate them. Make some good seedlings, some well-rooted seedlings, and then transplant them out. And some of those will end up in this box, this lettuce box that we have here. So this is the seed tray that we typically use. These are 72 cells. They're about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So Kathy's taken the potting soil that's already got a little bit of fertilizer, not too much, but that way when the seedlings germinate, they've got a little bit of nutrient to give them a kick. Eventually, they're going to come out and they'll go into fertilizer or into soil that's been, prepped with a little bit of fertilizer to get them. The stuff we're using is 6% nitrogen, so it's low nitrogen, and 24% phosphorus and 24% potassium, and a little bit of iron, a little bit of sulfur. And it's a good starter fertilizer. All right. So after layering soil across this tray, Kathy's going through and tamping it all down, and then she'll refill it again. Recycled or reused plug trays. So we keep them around and use them until you can't. And now she's going to go back and add more soil to the top and scrape it off and keep them, run them flat again. And then the next time she'll just, after she runs them, runs the top smooth, go ahead and just put just a dimple in the top of each cell with a finger, and that's plenty of room for adding the seeds, and not too deep because these seeds are really shallow or really small diameter seeds. Rule of thumb says you only cover the seeds with about 4 times the amount of soil. So a seed that's, barely visible, you only want a dusting of soil, not too deep. So now Kathy's opening a seed pack, and looking for a tag that she's already marked. So I don't know how many seeds you dumping in.
That was like 2. How many should I dump in? What do you
think?
think?
With green onions, you can probably dump 3, 4, 5, 6. It really doesn't matter, because these are bunching onions. The difference between a green onion or a spring onion and a bunching onions were bred to stay skinny, whereas the ones they call green onions or spring onions are regular onions that are just picked early. So what we typically do with these, once they start growing, this is the way I've often grown onions like this, is to let them get, they're really slender, the seedlings, and they'll get 4 or 5 inches tall, and I will cut them off about 1.5 inches from the soil line, and let them grow some more, and then do it again, cut them off about 1.5 inches from the soil line, and do that 3 or 4 times, and it causes the little stalks to fatten up. And then one last time I will cut them down, and the little trimmings I'll use, throw them on a salad, throw them in something, throw them in scrambled eggs. They look like chives, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then when I pull them all out, I'll take the root ball apart completely, shake all the soil off, and pull all the little onions apart. See, they're really small little seeds. Pull all the onions apart and prune the roots back. So they're only about 1.5 inches long as well, and then they become a lot easier to transplant. So she poured everything back into the seed pack.
Almost everything.
Yeah, so we'll have a few strays, it sounds like, and that's okay. The joys of gardening. All right.
We're gonna take
So that's the onions. So just a slight dusting of soil over the seeds, and we can do that at the end. We can
Is
go
that
through
okay?
It. Yeah, absolutely. So whatever the next one is, she's got, again, pre-made.
This is salad bowl lettuce.
Okay, so salad bowl lettuce is a loose leaf lettuce. Here in Southern California, very often the loose leaf lettuces are easier to grow than the head type lettuces. And I'm going to make a suggestion here. With the onions, Kathy cut across the top of the pack. I was taught years ago to cut the bottom of the pack. And that way when you roll the top down or roll the bottom up, you can still see the top. You can still see what it is. So just another, 5-minute gardener tip. So, and she's going to do the same thing. She's going to put seeds in her hand. And there's different ways you can do this. If you're direct sowing in the garden, one thing I would do is take like a small dish and put dry sand and pour seeds into the dry sand and use that as kind of a dispersal agent. The seeds blend pretty well with the dry sand. And then, you're broadcasting out sand and seeds simultaneously. And when I do this on soil, very often when you're covering small seeds like this, if you use the garden soil, it will crust over it, and it makes it very difficult for the small seedlings like lettuce and onions to germinate through that soil. So I will actually I will dust over the beds with used potting soil. And if you don't have any used, well, new works too, because it doesn't tend to crust like the garden soil does.
This is potting soil.
This is potting soil. Okay, so we'll be back. Okay, so Kathy's gone ahead and seeded across all these plug cells. And so what do we have? We've got bunching onions, salad bowl lettuce, spinach, kale, and romaine lettuce. Now she's going to go back and just dust lightly with a little bit of potting soil over each one of the cells, just enough to barely cover the seeds. And then we will water them and wait. We'll put this in we'll probably, I don't know, we've got a tray out here. We'll set it across a couple boards across this lettuce box, and maybe go ahead and sow seeds in the lettuce box across the other side of it. We can water both simultaneously. We might, I don't know what we'll put in directly, but maybe some beets. We have beet seeds somewhere, and those make great greens. The greens are usually pretty fast growing once they get going, and you can harvest those with scissors. Just cut across the tops once the greens get big, and leave a 1/2 inch to 1 inch above the soil line, so they will keep regenerating. And if it's a root like beets, you can go ahead and harvest the greens like that, and the beets will, slowly get larger, eventually big enough to harvest, and they're great roasted. I love roasted beets. So maybe we'll do a 5-minute gardener with a couple recipes. Maybe oven roasted beets. That's one of my favorites. So anyway, so Kathy's almost done filling this, and just lightly tamp it back down over the top so that the seeds are in good contact with the potting soil mix. Get a bag of potting soil. You can still make it to a home center maybe.
Oh, especially lettuce.
Yeah, grow greens. They grow quick. Things that you can be eating, if you like radishes, you can be eating radishes inside of 30 days. They're fast.
Did you buy radishes?
No. We can go back and get some radishes if we need to. Cucumbers, we've got cucumber seed. We'll be starting some of those. And corn seed, and we'll be starting some of those. And they take longer, obviously.
How do you recommend we water these, Mr.
So,
Lipman?
so what I do, Kathy's asking how we recommend watering these, and so what I do typically is we can leave it right where it is, but if we don't want this soil that we're working on to get any more soggy, it's just finally quit raining, we'll move it over to the patio, and we'll use a sprinkler nozzle, just one of those fine mist nozzles, and let it rain on it really lightly. So now Kathy's gonna water it, and we're using one of these nozzles. We actually have the pressure up fairly high, and it's got a ball valve on it, so you can control it a little bit. And from above, just quickly pass over it a few times. Ooh, I got a rainbow. And we'll do that a couple times. And the first time, it helps settle the seed, and we want to be really careful not to wash the seeds out. We'll water it again tomorrow. This is a porous potting soil, so the water that Kathy put on it moved right through the soil quickly. We'll call that it. Look at the rainbow. That's sweet. Okay. Once again, this is Ron the 5-Minute Gardener with my wife Kathy, the other 5-Minute Gardener.
Bye.
Yep. Have a great one and stay safe.